letting some people know they weren't supposed to be standing there. It was legit. Sometimes media folk forget that they're in someone else's office, but so he's not disengaged, and certainly his emotion is there and his intensity is there. But yeah, obviously there's a problem with the on ice product.
Maybe it's just a slump.
I don't think so. Hmm. I don't know, and I cringe sometimes when I start to speculate, and I probably should put big red letters. I'm speculating here. I would guess that perhaps there's more to it than just a slump, an injury of some sort, or a slower recovery, something impeding him, because his game is not complex, and it just seems to be eluding him.
Another popular subject online is, why is Simone playing and Blueger not?
Can we say Blueger?
Blueger, not.
Ain't that Blueger playing, and that's Simone out there. He gets all knocked down in that. Explaining Dominic Simone's hockey skills is only slightly less frustrating than explaining Jack Johnson. The organization and Mike Sullivan has probably done it a dozen times this season. Simone is a creative offensive generator. The statistics are, when he played with Riley Sheahan as center, when he played with Derek Brassard as center, their Corsi went up more than 20 points. That's just kind of the craziness that he brings, able to stick handle and control the puck, play the puck down low, being able to go get the puck and have that speedy presence that he brings. And there's a certain creativity to his game as well. What there's not a lot of in his game is finish, right? He doesn't get those great shots in the slot and bury them. When he does get them, it's, into the goalie. So, that's just not his deal. Also, very directly related, he makes $750,000. For a team to be successful, you need a guy who can do all of those things and make that little bit of money. Now, to the Teddy Blueger thing, I like Blueger a lot. He doesn't necessarily have that creativity yet. His game is still a work in progress at the NHL level. There's a lot to like, but right now the Penguins are stopped, and Simone is a step ahead of Blueger. If this were October, maybe Blueger plays a bit more often. They platoon or something, but this is February. The Penguins have a 1-point lead. Sullivan is not in a mood to let a player grow at this point. It's about winning right now.
Yeah, so basically it's just a matter of, it's not like he's in a doghouse or anything, it's just there's no real spot for him because there's other people ahead of him.
Yeah, it really is as simple as that. And I cringe because, I know fans are emotionally tied to Blueger and emotionally tied to not Simone. When Simone played ahead of Daniel Sprong, that drew the hatred, the ire, the negative emotions, that same kind of pitchfork groupthink sort of coming after him. And now here he is again playing ahead of somebody the fans want to see. He's just not going to buy a break in that. And yeah, it really is. You're right. It's as simple as there are 14 or even 15 NHL forwards the Penguins have right now, and it's just it's not his moment. His moment will really come next year.
The trade deadline is Monday. Did Rutherford already make all his trades? Is it, if there's anything, will it be minor, or is he still looking for something?
Well, he's always on the lookout. Let's be honest. Jim Rutherford, on the trade market as kind of like a great white just coasting around off the reef. He might not do anything, but if something presents itself that he thinks makes them better, I think he will. Now, I'll put a word of caution. I think everyone learned a lesson with Derek Brassard last year. So I do not see the Penguins making a splash that alters their team chemistry or makeup on, now or by Monday. They just don't want to go through that. It took them long enough to figure out that Nick Bjugstad is the third line center, Garrett McCann is the left wing, and Matt Cullen and Tanner Pearson and Simone are their fourth line. And even now, Mike Sullivan still doesn't sound 100% convinced that Bjugstad is his third line center. So if Rutherford were to introduce more pieces into this, it's almost like a virus, man. Every time the Penguins think they solve it, it kind of evolves and morphs into a different form, or somebody gets hurt and it just keeps changing. I think the Penguins would almost be happier settling with what they have rather than gambling on something big that would potentially blow up on them again, like Brassard did.
Yeah. Is it maybe not just the Penguins learned from Brassard, but maybe other teams too? Like you see a Duchesne available out there, maybe other teams think, well, if we bring him on, he might not be happy with his role and might not do anything.
I definitely could see that. Unfortunately for the Penguins, there's a couple teams in the Metro Division who are center poor, namely the Columbus Blue Jackets, as Wenberg has kind of hit the skids. Actually, Wenberg, get this, does not have an even strength goal this year.
Wow.
But he's got, I think he's got 4 more seasons at $4 million plus left on his deal. So Columbus, I think it would be fair to say, would be desperate for more center help, and Duchesne would easily be their top or second line center. Take your pick. Same with the Islanders. I don't think there'd be much competition at the top of their lineup with Barzal. Hey, you be number one tonight, I'll be number one. I don't think either of those guys would care. You still have 2. And those are the 2 teams I think that's going to come down to Duchesne. Nashville would have to, I think, alter their team a lot, and I just don't see them doing it. If they were going to do it, I think they would have done it by now. So I think Duchesne will be in the Metro, but then again, David Poyle wakes up tomorrow with a wild hair and says, fine, what's their big prospect? Eli Tauvain says, okay, fine, you can have him. And there goes Duchesne. So we shall see, right? But yeah, otherwise you're not going to see teams stack centers 3 deep and try to make one a third line center again. I think the Penguins were the canary in the coal mine, and the canary didn't come out.
Yeah. Is it time to be concerned about Matt Murray, or do you think he'll be just fine?
I think he'll be fine. Of course, when he has a couple rough games, I know everyone's eyebrow raises just because he's not strung enough regular season games back to back. He's not put together enough regular season runs where everyone's like, okay, he's just having a bad week. No problem. So, concerned? No. Cautious? Maybe. Goaltenders go through this stuff, and Murray's no different.
I've heard you mention Matt Cullen, how valuable he is, trying to teach people, and it sounds like he's a great locker room presence, but should maybe they not use him as much, maybe save him a little bit for the playoffs?
He seems to rebound. He got overexposed a little bit last week where he played, 17 minutes or something like that. The game is escaping me, but he did play 17 minutes recently. I think it was kind of junk. for the next couple games. Then he rebounded very well over the last couple. So he needed a break. He played 8 minutes then following that. It wouldn't surprise me, but in order for the Penguins to give him a break, I think the team needs to earn some space and separation. You're not going to see Teddy Blueger as the fourth line center, or I don't know, maybe they'd put McCann down there. They've got options. I don't think they would do that unless they get a 4 or 5 point lead on the out of playoff team, on the 9th seed, so to speak. And even then, I don't think they would want to do it. So look maybe for that to happen in that first week of April, which would be the last week of the season.
Yeah, that is if they can get that playoff spot soon and not have it go down to the wire. I mean, I think last year it took till game 79 for them to clinch the playoffs.
Yeah, and a couple years before that, it took to game 82 when they clinched on the final day of the year. Was that, I think, in 2000, it was a 15-16, or the 14-15 season. Took them to the final day to clinch. So, yeah, and this Eastern Conference is crazy. You've got the logjam of mediocrity over in the West. But the teams in the East, they're catching fire. Carolina, those bunch of jerks are winning hockey games, and Columbus is a tough team. I mean, they're a little disheveled with Panarin and Bob and Wenberg and all of that stuff going on, but they're still winning hockey games and in the top 3. And hey, don't forget, there's Buffalo. Buffalo's in the tank right now, but they're 4 points back. If Jason Botterill makes that right little trade and it ignites them, look out. And all of a sudden there's 9 teams or 10 teams. Actually, yeah, there'd be 10 with Buffalo battling. It's crazy. They're winning games in the Eastern Conference, so the Penguins really can't breathe for a while.
And it's not just making the playoffs; they have to make the Metro playoffs or whatever it is. They can't be in that wild card spot and play like Tampa or something, because they would be screwed.
Yeah, I think any team that gets Tampa in that first round, heaven help them, because Tampa has a chip on their shoulder. I was chatting with one of my colleagues in Tampa, Eric Erlandson, who was a longtime beat writer for the newspaper down there, now has his own deal, kind of similar to DK in the sense that it's got an app and it's a subscription site. And he's probably the best. Well, there's only one other beat writer down there, so my boy Eric is the best. And I said maybe they've just got a chip for the Penguins. He's like, no, it's a chip for everybody. They want to lay waste to everyone who stands in their way at this point. They're angry. They didn't win the Cup in 15 when they outplayed Chicago in the Stanley Cup final. They went tooth and nail with the Penguins to Game 7 of the 16 Eastern Conference final. They took 17 off. And last year, don't forget, they had the Capitals by the throat in the Eastern Conference final. They had them, and then the Capitals just pounded them in Games 6 and 7, and they kicked themselves all summer. So look out for Tampa, because they are, level 10 angry.
That being said, every time the Lightning and the Penguins do play, Penguins seem to match up pretty well, and it looks like the Lightning are destroying every other team in the league. It looks like they might like break records for a number of points in the season.
Well, why do you think the Penguins have gotten bigger this year?
Yeah.
They looked at Tampa and they looked at Washington, and they saw what Washington did to Tampa. So the Penguins knew they had to compete with Washington first and foremost, and they knew Tampa was coming. So they didn't think that they could get enough speed and scoring in their lineup to replicate 2016. So